Back in 2017, we published a video about video game acronyms, or to be more specific, backronyms. Which is that thing where a game developer starts with a cool sounding name for something, then figures out what that word is an abbreviation of after the fact, like Hawks, or Mayhem, or Flood.
So let's see what FLUD stands for, eh? Flash Liquidizer Ultra Dousing Device.
Since that video, things have been hard, because once we started noticing them, we couldn't stop seeing examples of truly horrendous acronym abuse in video games. I mean, seriously, how are we supposed to go about our daily lives when the star game in Twilight Princess is a thing? Bloody rageous, and that's not even the worst of it. So, even though we've done this video before and done a commentary edition of it, we are now forced to bring you even more tortured acronyms they so clearly worked backwards from. Expect some spoilers for the following games.
Welcome home, Mr. Jensen.
Adam Jensen from Deus Ex may have a largely robotic, augmented body, but really he's just like you and me. Like any of us, he's still got a few boxes of stuff in his apartment left to unpack, the kitchen's a mess, and he has a secret compartment behind the TV stuffed with painkillers, ammunition, and powerful explosives. Yeah, that's what we call a red flag, Adam. Those playing the director's cut of Deus Ex Human Revolution may find this the easiest place to grab a weapon that was added after the game's launch, in the Explosive Mission Pack DLC. That weapon is a sticky bomb plus detonator that Adam can deploy to devastating effect, presumably so long as he manages to throw it without it sticking to his own hand. Meet the M28 Utility Remote Detonated Explosive Device, a unique weapon with a suspiciously generic name. Suspicious that is until you realise it's an acronym, of course. Utility Remote Detonated Explosive Device? What is that? Oh wait, you are dead. Very clever, Deus Ex. Or perhaps we should lay the blame at the feet of Steiner Bisley, the in-game manufacturer of the You Are Dead. Frankly, that's not a very tasteful name for a device with enormous killing potential. Honestly, it's like nothing is sacred anymore in this transhumanist mega-corporate dystopia. Oh, damn it, I think the game just made its point.
Jill!
Go after Nikolai! He's got the vaccine!
What about you?
We're running out of time. I've got this.
I know you do.
Look, just so you know, this is the last time.
You gotta give the boffins at Resident Evil's Umbrella Corporation credit. They know how to practice science responsibly. For instance, they would never ever create a mutant monster bioweapon like the nemesis of Resident Evil 3 without also developing an experimental rail cannon to blow it up, if it ever, say, went haywire and turned into a room-filling murder blob. Said experimental rail cannon is deployed by hero Jill Valentine to great effect in the final boss battle of the Resident Evil 3 remake. A feat of not only incredible courage, but incredible upper body strength. Bloody hell, Jill, somebody's getting their 5 a day. This honking great chunk of weaponry is a reimagining of a similar piece of tech in the original game that Jill can charge up to fire at the nemesis and win the day. Back in 1999, this boss-bursting railgun was called the Sword of Paracelsus, a nod to the Swiss alchemist and philosopher, and if you need any evidence that society is getting dumber, just look to the fact that in the remake, it's called the Finger. What does finger mean? Well, for that, merely look to the operating instructions, which can be found nearby. They tell you that finger stands for, wait for it, Ferromagnetic Infantry Use Next Generation Railgun. which is an acronym Capcom worked back from if ever we saw one, because I'm not sure how you can describe a weapon as infantry use when it's 10 foot long, cabled into the wall, and can only be fired in the room in which it's installed, because it needs a building-sized battery in order to fire.
Cooldown in progress. Please reactivate power sources.
Damn, it needs power.
But the real proof that Capcom started with the name Finger and worked backwards can be found again in the manual, because of course, this thing is only called that so the game can feature the pun, "Tyrants out of line? Just give 'em the finger." Lol, classic stuff. Shame the gag is buried in a collectible log entry really, and not delivered by Jill as a sassy one-liner when she uses the finger to deliver the killing blow. Oh well, I'm sure she's got something much cleverer up her sleeve.
Next time, take the hit.
Yeah, we'll workshop it.
We don't know much about designing graphics chips, but we're willing to bet the pressure can be overwhelming, especially when the chip in question is the breakthrough SuperFX chip.
The first and only game powered by the SuperFX microchip.
This landmark piece of plastic and silicon made it possible for the lowly Super NES console to render space combat adventure Star Fox in glorious 3D. Okay, maybe glorious is a bit strong. Good 3D? Just 3D? We can all agree this is 3D. The SuperFX chip was built by Argonaut Games, who also co-developed Star Fox with Nintendo. A huge job to take on, so we can almost forgive those involved for making the bold decision to lighten up the development process with one of gaming's most outrageous backronyms ever. See, the SuperFX chip built into every Star Fox cartridge wasn't always called the SuperFX chip. It had a code name during development in fact, and that code name was Mario. Now, perhaps it's a coincidence that this groundbreaking graphics chip, whose full name during development was Mathematical Argonaut Rotation and Input-Output, had been given a title that just so happened to abbreviate very neatly to the name of Nintendo's famous mascot. Annoyingly, we've no way to prove otherwise, because we don't know enough about programming to tell you whether Mathematical Argonaut Rotation and Input-Output is the only rational name this graphics chip could ever have had, or if it's just a load of total bollocks. Let's just say we have our suspicions. Argonaut Games and Nintendo have the last laugh, however, as even though it was eventually given its official title SuperFX, the codename is the one printed on the actual chip that made it into the game cartridges, turning this extremely painful acronym into a physical piece of Nintendo history. On the other hand, at least it does say SuperFX on the box art, so that's something. Of course, that's also where you'll find the original look for Fox McCloud. A net loss.
Isaac, it's me. I wish I could talk to you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about everything. I wish I could just talk to someone. It's all falling apart here. I can't believe what's happening.
If you're watching this video, you clearly enjoy a good acronym, or at least enjoy a bad acronym getting harshly roasted.
Huh, that doesn't look good. She's taken a lot of damage.
But we can 100,000% guarantee that you do not enjoy acronyms as much as now defunct Dead Space developer EA Redwood Shores, who were so in love with the practice of using the first letters of words to spell out a whole new one, they put one in their game even though if you spotted it, it would risk ruining the whole game for you. Dead Space begins with engineer Isaac Clarke arriving on the doomed ship USG Ishimura, where he's trying to find his girlfriend Nicole, who we first see in Chapter 1, New Arrivals, in a video message that a lovesick Isaac plays over and over.
How many times you watched that thing? Guess you really miss her.
Hordes of ravening necromorphs prove no obstacle to Isaac finding his way back to Nicole, finally reuniting with her in person in Chapter 7, Into the Void.
The beacon's in the storage room next to you.
Nicole helps Isaac survive the gauntlet of horrors aboard, but moments before the end credits in Chapter 12, Dead Space, it is revealed in a shock twist that Nicole had been dead all along. The video message Isaac had been watching on loop in fact shows her dying before the game even began. All along, Nicole was nothing but hallucination, caused by the alien marker, the sinister mind-influencing monolith that creates necromorphs and had Isaac do its bidding, which does now explain a few things, like how Nicole so enjoys stepping out from behind the on-fire marker and speaking in creepy tones about being whole again.
I knew you'd return to me. We are whole again, Isaac.
It's a shocking twist. Unless, that is, you looked at the list of the 12 chapters in the game and spotted that when you take the first letter of each, they actually spell out, Nicole is dead. Spoiler alert, EA Redwood Shores. This shocking acronym, or perhaps technically it's an acrostic, must have taken some nerve on behalf of the developers, who obviously started from a wish to give away the ending in the game's chapter titles and worked backwards from there in terms of naming them. Of course, we don't know for certain that EA Redwood Shores are the only ones to have tried this. Half-Life 2, for instance, has similarly pithy titles for its chapters, and if you put them together, they spell out Pawwbfsnefod. Well, that's Half-Life 3 confirmed as far as I'm concerned.
Nothing is more fundamental to the video game experience than acquiring experience points in order to level up, except possibly 20GB day one updates. Quirky indie heartbreak 'em up Undertale only toys with our expectations regarding the first of these things. Although, I mean, I haven't opened the game in a while, perhaps there's a 20GB Papyrus the Skeleton Cape DLC. Moreover, it plays with those expectations using twisted acronyms of all things, the nerve. At the start of the game, this sinister flower explains to you that the red heart you control during combat can grow strong if you gain LV, short for love. But we don't know why the flower bothers, frankly, because anyone who's anyone knows that the way you get stronger in a game is by leveling up, and that to level up you need experience points, which you get from defeating enemies. Look, we just got some now from slicing up this gross frog monster. Except, oh no, fast forward to the end of the game and Sans the Skeleton is explaining that you might have been a bit hasty in your rush to hoover up as much EXP and gain as many LVs as possible. Hot damn, the acronyms may be a real reach, and by the by, where's the E in love coming from in level of violence? The final E, I guess. But Undertale's two twisted acronyms exist to reframe your idea of what progress in a video game even is, and challenge what was very likely an automatic assumption on your part that killing monsters is worth it if it meant higher stats in return. Is getting more powerful the only kind of progress that counts? Or is there another kind of growth we should be reaching for? And what— oh crap, this game just made its point too! Right, no more using horrible acronyms to make your points, games.
Localization is the act of translating a game for an audience in a different part of the world, and when you have something like the Ace Attorney series, which is basically 10 trillion pages of complex Japanese legal drama, it can't be an easy task. And that's before you factor in cases that hinge entirely on international time differences. Ooh boy. It makes your head spin just thinking about wrangling something like this into a different language, let alone adding cultural references and gags so the game is, you know, fun. So, knowing how hard it must have been to crowbar into the game, we can't be too mad about a truly heinous backronym in Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations, released to the West in 2007. The game's third episode sees Phoenix and his assistant Maya questioning Lisa Basil, the almost robotic boss of a tech company whose employee has been murdered. But someone's clearly turned on Lisa's two-factor authentication because she's very guarded with her information. Oh, nuts, hang on, what's my mother's maiden name again? As usual for an Ace Attorney game, making progress requires presenting Lisa with the right evidence, and as usual, this can require a fair bit of trial and error, excuse the pun. And if you present the wrong evidence, well, let's just let the clip run. That's right, the data is SPADA, which means Super Admin Restricted Desktop Access, but really means the Trials and Tribulations localizer was determined to make a reference to internet meme and also movie and comic book 300. Specifically the bit where a messenger tells Spartan King Leonidas this is madness and he kicks— Why am I explaining this? To give the game credit, 300 was released in cinemas just a few months before Trials and Tribulations' Western debut, which means this was a bleeding edge reference at the time. Today, the SPADA acronym lives on as a pop culture time capsule, a reminder of a time when that Sparta meme was everywhere, and Zack Snyder's trademark slow-mo ultra desaturated cinematography was still a novelty and not the thing making us ask, hey, why does Superman look so sad all the time? He can fly, the ungrateful bastard!
Anyone who's played Animal Crossing will tell you the theme of the game is labouring in debt for an unfeeling mortgage lender, who represents a system of faceless consumption designed to separate you, the worker, from the means of production. It makes perfect sense then that the Animal Crossing universe features a character who stands in opposition to this economic system, and that's Harvey. Harvey, the tripped-out hippie, is a dog that operates a campsite in Animal Crossing New Leaf, or series producer Hisashi Nogami if you happen to be watching the Fever Dream Nintendo Direct, where our next acronym made its first appearance.
Say hello to my good friend KK Slider.
Long Limb KK needs to f*** off absolutely immediately. Harvey offers the player a different way of doing things, a good vibes currency that doubles as a totally twisted acronym, Meow coupons, which stands for Mutual Exchange of Wealth coupons.
You can earn an environmentally friendly new currency, Meow coupons. That stands for Mutual Exchange of Wealth, by the way.
A thriving community currency, Meow coupons are earned by doing jobs around town, like fishing or gathering fruit, and are spent on locally sourced items like artisanal ornaments or a compact car. And where do you get Meow coupons? Why, from the CAT machine, of course, or coupon allocating terminal. 2 acronyms for the price of 1, now that's a great system. So great, in fact, that by the next game, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Tom Nook has stolen the idea and turned it into his own Nook Inc. integrated cryptocurrency, Nook Miles. Sorry, Harvey, you can't beat the system.
So those were 7 more tortured acronyms they clearly worked backwards from. Can you think of any more? Oh my goodness, there are so many, like, it's ridiculous and they're so hilarious, and that's why we'll keep making videos on them. They're great. But honestly, if you enjoyed this video, why not give it a like, which stands for look incredibly cool, eh? But in the meantime, thanks for watching. We shall see you next time, and look after yourselves. Bye!